secretly got Jay to read the second book of a series without reading the first book. So I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back before we get started today. What's up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the Lone Limit Podcast. I'm your host, Chelsie. This is your host, Jay.
Hey.
And before we get started today, Jay has given me a special task, guys.
What? Wait, what did I do?
Today is a special episode. We're kicking it back. We're throwing it back to nostalgia.
Okay, yeah.
Because of the book we chose, Jay has decided that this is going to be our squeaky clean episode. And if you have ever watched or listened to this podcast, then you know, not every word I say can be repeated before the Lord, you know?
Oh my God.
And so, if you are watching this and you see my face contort in an unnatural way, just know
you're trying your best.
I'm giving it all I got.
This is already hilarious.
With that being said,
I'm gonna go ahead and just start it off with Chelsie. I'm so proud of you because I know you can do it. I believe in you. I know you can do it.
Listen, unless my grandma in the room, I don't know. But we gonna work it out. You know, we're gonna cruise into this.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna start off with a fun game, Jay.
Okay.
So we're both sports people, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, let's do a bracket.
Oh no. Okay. Oh my God.
We're gonna find out the champion amongst some childhood classic books. Now, Jay, I know you might not have read them all, so if you've seen the movie, you can use that instead. That's totally okay.
Okay.
Don't worry, I only did a top 6. All right.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna start you off easy. At least I hope so.
We'll see.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Princess Diaries?
Princess Diaries.
Okay. Junie B. Jones or Harry Potter?
Harry Potter.
The way you make that face, ma'am.
Are we judging?
I'm not judging, but actually I think I messed this up. So I'm going to have to add on a special bracket here. Leave me be. I didn't do the math right. Series of Unfortunate Events or Holes?
Holes.
Okay. Traveling Pants or Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants versus, I'm trying to think. Let's go with You Only Spy Young by Allie Carter.
You Only Spy Young. Actually, isn't it Only the Good Spy Young?
I don't know. It's your book. All right. You know what I'm talking about.
Only the Good Spy Young by Allie Carter.
Okay.
So you know I'm a fan because I was like, hold up.
I was like, she'll know what I'm trying to say here.
Yes.
All right. Now we've got Princess Diaries versus Harry Potter.
Ooh. Who do I want coming after me the most? Okay, if I'm going to answer based off of movies, I have to go with the Princess Diaries.
Okay. Holes or your spy book that I'm not going to butcher the name of again.
Okay, wait. And Only the Good Spy Young, what happened in that one? It's all relevant. Ooh, that one hurts. Why couldn't you put Holes in the top bracket with the ones I actually don't care about? Okay, I gotta rock with Allie. Allie Carter, Only the Good Spy Young.
Okay. Now, we've got a woman versus woman final here. Princess Diaries or Spy?
As a good Gallagher girl, I'm going with Only the Good Spy Young by Allie Carter.
All right.
Because that's a sisterhood and we stay together.
Allegedly.
Girl.
I don't know nothing about Gallagher girls, all right? I don't.
Listen, it's need to know. The ones that know, they know. It's a need to know situation. We got it.
Okay. I'm terrified to do this bracket, so bear with me here.
I already know we're definitely not having the same winner, so at least it'll be unique.
All right, and the fight between Charlie and the Chocolate Factory versus Princess Diaries. If I'm going off of books here, I'm going Charlie.
If you were going for movies, which one?
I think I still pick Charlie.
Okay, all right.
But not the Johnny Depp version.
Okay, I will say, which Charlie? Yeah, for me it'd be the Jean version, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Jean version. The creepy song in the tunnel never freaked me out. I know it backwards and forwards.
I feel like we're so showing our age with the Jean version. You know, Charlie and the
We're not talking about it.
Meanwhile, they have a whole new Wonka out, but yeah, Jean version.
In the fight between Harry Potter and Junie B. Jones, as much as I love Junie B, and I will never use her B, I think I'm going Harry Potter.
Okay. I would have been shocked if you didn't pick Harry.
You know? Here's the hardest part of this fight. Series of Unfortunate Events versus Holes. Even if it's the book version, I still don't know. And if it's the movie version, I still don't know.
You gotta pick, homie. You gotta pick. That's what the bracket is for. See, you should have shuffled the bracket.
I
tried. The bottom half is so much harder than the top half. Really, you don't know? I was gonna say, which one have you read or watched more, but that won't apply to you.
Yeah. Woo, I almost messed up already. I'm gonna go Holes.
Okay.
That hurt.
Okay.
And then Traveling Pants versus Spy. I'm going Traveling Pants. I remember reading that as a teen.
I think you should replace Spy with something that's equal to you, right? Because you didn't read Only the Good Spy Young. Also, you picking that one out of the whole series is wild, but okay.
It's one of those things where I didn't really read a lot of YA even as a kid.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Traveling Pants, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anything I were to pick that I did read that was YA, Traveling Pants would still win.
Okay.
Yeah. In the fight between Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Harry Potter, I'm going Charlie.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. I love a classic, like, standing tall.
Veruca Salt's I Want It Now is actually on my iPod. Like, I don't think you understand.
Girl, stop aging us. You just said iPod. That's not even a thing anymore. Oh my god.
What do you want from me in this episode?
I already feel elderly. Keep going.
The book we chose for today's episode made me feel elderly.
I actually didn't realize how old it was until we started reading it. I was like, oh, this held up for a long time.
Yo. In the fight between Traveling Pants and Holes, this is a hard one for me because I've watched both of those movies.
Hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've watched both those movies way too many times. But I would say Holes. And now I've reached a finals that I don't enjoy, and I don't understand why I set myself up like this.
What is it, Holes versus Charlie?
Yep. And I really want to plead the fifth right now.
Nah, you gotta pick, homie. You gotta pick.
All right. This is going to be a ridiculous tiebreaker here. But if I'm going song versus song, I'm picking Holes.
Really?
You've got to go dig them holes. Digging up our holes. Digging.
Okay, yes. But I thought if you were going to go song versus song, you were going to go with the one that's more set up like a musical. That's interesting.
Well, no. So I was thinking my favorite song from each movie.
Oh, okay. Okay, got you.
So
okay.
I want it now versus Holes, or like from the Detent. I just thought, you know, I would, to this day, drive around listening to Holes, and it would start my day just right.
All right. So you ended up with Holes as the okay. I think it's a solid choice. And then I was only the Good Spy Young. Yeah, nothing really had a shot against Allie when it comes to me for YA. Like
that's fair.
Yeah, I can't think of a author from my youngin' days that could knock her off.
You know,
yeah, I can't think of one.
Yeah, but can you think of some book recs now that we've tortured ourselves with the bracket?
Ooh, some good like child YA-ish recs?
For you, yeah. For me, it was just anything that might come close to that category.
All right, why don't you go first?
Because your girl over here does not read YA that often. I do have a whole stack of YA that I'm trying to get through. Mm-hmm. And some of the YA I've already recommended on the show, so I didn't want to repeat. So this made it a little bit harder for me.
Right.
Funny enough, one of our bracket books is my recommendation. So Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants by Anne Brashes, I think is how you pronounce her last name. First off, the movie has some heavy hitters in it.
For sure. Casting, yeah, they did their thing.
Beautiful. But I remember reading the book as a young teen, and it was like the most magical thing in this world, especially because I was thick like America Ferrera's character. So having that representation, it was way deeper than I think Anne might have even realized. So then, yeah, no, it was one of those things where I just thought of like my group of friends and reading that book, like, and every summer we would always end up separated, and I just like, yeah, no, that one, ooh, the nostalgia on that one, definitely gotta go read it.
Cute.
I know, right? I'm cute. Now, my second book rec is more for the older YA generations or age group. This is also for those adults who like to dabble in YA books every once in a while. It's called Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. It is a newer book, so it's not a childhood classic. Essentially, it's a murder mystery on a magical island off the coast of Oregon, I believe.
Okay.
You look intrigued but unsure.
I look shocked and confused.
Why?
That's okay.
Yes. A friend of mine recommended it to me. I read it and I was very intrigued. Essentially, when they were teenagers, one of their friends passed away, and one of the other friends was accused of murdering her. He got off on the charges, but years later he returns to the island, and it brings up all this past history, and finally we discover the truth. And when I tell you I was not expecting the truth, I mean, as someone who can find clues everywhere, it took me a while on this one.
Okay, we love a good plot twist that you can't see coming.
I needed one of those boards with the clues and the pictures and the string, and I was trying to follow it. I was texting my friend, like, it's so-and-so, isn't it? And she'd be like, you just gotta keep reading. And I was like, no!
No! Tell me!
I was like, I just need to know. Am I on the right path? Just tell me. But no, definitely an interesting read. I think I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, so it's a solid book.
Okay.
But yeah, Jay, what you got over there? Because we don't read the same, so I'm intrigued.
I think, like, Holes might be our only intersecting book from our childhood. Maybe another one, but, like, yeah, we don't have many.
We are.
We read different things.
Moving along.
All. Yeah, okay. So my first rec is actually going to be Broadway Lights. It is a part of the Secrets of My Hollywood Life series, and this is number 5 in the series. It's by author Jen Calonita. Mm-hmm. Okay, first of all, I love the series. Read it from beginning to end. But when I was looking at the series and I was like, okay, which one do I want to rec? And I was like, I think this one is my favorite in the series. Now, as you can kind of tell from the title, it's about a child star who's famous and working in LA on a TV show, all these things like that, and all the stuff that comes with being a child star, the homeschooling, all the things, yada, yada, yada. By the time it gets to the 5th book, she's a little bit older, and she takes a role on Broadway over the summer. And so usually most of the series is all set in California. This particular book is set in New York. And I think that may be why it's my favorite of the series, because it was the only one that was actually set in a place that I knew. And at this point when I was reading it, I hadn't been out to California. So everything was just kind of like, ooh, a wonder with reading it. But when it was set in New York, I was like, oh, absolutely. I know where she's at. I know that food. Like, it was so great to kind of have, like, connections to the book in a tangible way. And I thought it was really, really cute. So I definitely suggest that entire series. But I think Broadway Lights is my favorite one. Of I think it's either a 6 or a 7 book series. And when I was younger, oh my God, like 4 and up, if you had a series with 4 and up books, oh, I was locked in. No surprise, my next recommendation is an Ally Carter classic. Fix Your Face! Okay.
I'm waiting for the surprise, you know?
Oh, well, you know. So it's going to be, and this is very on brand for me, I'm going to rec her first book in the series, because you need to read them in order. I cannot stress that enough. But I'd tell you I love you, but that I'd have to kill you. Oh my God. I feel like this book, like, changed my reading relationship with books. Like, it was the book that made Ally Carter my favorite author for almost 20 something years at that point. Now she's one of my favorite authors, but she was my top favorite author for years because of this book and the whole series. As you can tell from the brackets, I'm a Gallagher girl. I have been since 12, very proudly. So yeah, the whole series is dope. I was always more of a spy kind of kid, like Spy Kids the movie, like all the things. That was always my interest. So finding a book version with a female spy and going on their journey. The one thing I will commend about Ally as an author is that you grow with the characters as the books go on. And that's why I say you have to read them in order. So when you read the first book, I believe they're in like middle school. And like by the time you get to the end of the series, it's like college, like real life. So it's like you really grow with the characters as you go. The level of danger that they experience as spies grows as well. And it's just such a beautiful, like, such a beautiful reading experience, but also just to kind of grow with the character. Like, I read the book when it came out, like pretty soon after it came out, and oh my God, waiting for them to drop was like torture. That was like so torture to me then. But yeah, like growing with the girls in the books was so cool. So yeah, those are my 2 little YA racks.
You look so happy.
You see my little shimmy?
Okay. Well, my question for you might not have you shimmying.
Oh, Roy. What's up?
Okay, listen. I've been on the internet. It was not a trap this time.
The internet is a trap. I tell you this all the time. Listen, it had me trapped until like 4 a.m. just doing nothing. So it is absolutely a trap. Continue.
But here's the thing. I have a question. And it's going to sound stupid, I know. But if everybody on the internet got a book club, who's showing up to whose book club? How you got time? Because if one more person on the internet tells me they have now created a book club on Fable, I'm going to lose my mind.
Okay, here's the thing. I think we kind of actually might have touched on this before on the podcast. I feel like reading has become like mainstream popular recently, and that's why I think we're seeing a big uptick of like book clubs and stuff. Because I can tell you this, as a reading nerd growing up, this was not popular then.
Listen, outside of Oprah's book club, ain't nobody have a book when we were growing up.
Word. And so to me, it's actually hilarious. I have tried book clubs a couple of times, and it was just determined for me, I'm not a book club person. One, and this is totally a my fault thing. I feel like as soon as you tell me to do something, I immediately don't want to do it.
Oh my God.
So,
I can't.
The whole like, hey, read this chapter and then we talk about it. So my issues with book clubs is they'd be like, hey, read this chapter, then we talk about it. And I'd read the whole book. And I would want to talk about the whole book. And people haven't read the whole book. And I'm like, ugh.
Like,
and then I feel like the other thing was like, oh, book club, you have to read this book. And like, I'd be like, I was busy. I didn't have a chance to read it, but I still want to be engaged in the conversation. And then like, I hadn't read certain things in the book. And they were like, oh, you're messing up the experience. I was like, you know what? So I've never done well with book clubs, which is... I wish I could be a book club person, but I've never done well with book clubs. So it's never been my...
You can't be a book club person. Totally. There is... Alright, I didn't mean this to end up this way, but Silent Book Club is the best book club for someone like Jay. Yeah. Alright? You show up, you mingle if you want, and then you go read what you want to read, and then you come back and you mingle for just a little bit more and you go home.
So when you... tell me about Silent Book Club, it's like the only time I'm jealous of you. I mean, well, that sounds weird.
Nah, I know what you mean. It's like, oh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm just like, Silent Book Club, I think is the only book club that I can actually rock with. And I absolutely do want to experience it. Because I feel like all the book clubs that I'm seeing, so as you guys know, I'm in LA, and I feel like there's so many people, especially like on Threads. I feel like Books is having such a great moment on Threads, and people are just like, oh, there's a book club in like North Hollywood and this and that, and I'm just like... And then, like, I see the book, and I'm like, can I just show up to meet other people that read, but I don't like the book? But, you can't do that. So, yes, I absolutely want to have a Silent Book Club experience, because I think that might be the book club for me. Yeah. But, yeah, I just think, I don't want to say there's too many book clubs, because I never want to be the person to kind of, like, restrict people from doing their own thing and finding their own community. But I also kind of wondered, I'm just like, can we just do more partnerships versus like individual hubs? Because I feel like if we like partner with like a bookstore and like there's certain days and it's like different genres, I feel like that'd be way cooler, and you can get a bigger book community. And look at me fixing people's problems that they didn't even ask for. But I'm like, I feel like you would get a bigger book community, and even if we're not reading the same book, you can still interact with people that have the same hobby that you do. So I hope people are finding their tribe and the thing that is bringing them joy in the books and all the things. I have yet to find my little pocket of book club, like, sanctuary. I'm still looking. I think Silent Book Club may be the move for me. But I just feel like there's so many book clubs right now. I don't really think it's sustainable. I don't think we're going to see this much going forward.
I'm at a point now where I'm just like, what's your calendar like? How you got time for all these book clubs? Because personally, I feel like there's too many. There's too many. We have oversaturated the market at this point. Not everybody can lead a book club, okay? Just because y'all both enjoy reading the same book does not mean we need to start a club for it, right? that's me personally. My max of book clubs is 2 at a time, and even that really is silent book club and nothing for me, because I joined a book club where there were 3 books, and it was in an app, and you could just discuss and read whatever books you wanted out of those 3 options. And even that, to me, I literally was like, no, because I don't like your books that you keep choosing, and I have to pay for this. So I'm gonna back out and just keep going to silent book club. Plus, silent book club is a whole day for me, all right? It is a dopamine hit, all right? So I get to go buy books all day. I get to go read books all day. It's a great day for me. And then I come home and take a nap because I pee-pulled too hard. But, you know?
But I think you mentioned something that I think is also maybe a consideration, and this is where I question the sustainability of all the book clubs. Not all book clubs are free. Sometimes there is like a financial investment or something of that sort to be a part of it.
That part.
And to that, I'm kind of just like, okay, great. Because especially if you're like picking like a lesser known author, love all of that. But I'm also just like, again, there's so many book clubs. This is where I'm like, why are there so many individual book clubs? Like I said, even in LA, I'll see there'll be like 4 different book clubs meeting on the exact same day. Maybe different times, but it's like on the exact same day. And I'm just like, you guys can't see that there's a market for this, and instead of competing against each other, just being like, hey, we'll do bi-monthly or bi-weekly, and then you take these and then so it's alternate. And I'm just like, but then I feel like there might be a monetary element to it that I might be missing, and I think that's maybe why we're seeing so much. I think books are very popular right now. Reading is a very in hobby to do. And so I think that there is money to be made. So I think everyone's just running to be a part of it. I'm not judging. I'm not like, or again, my biggest thing is just like, if we're going to create a book community, and especially when it comes to book clubs and connecting, I would just like it to be a sustainable space that we can have and it can continue to grow. Having so many individual pods doesn't really let me to believe that it's actually going to like contribute to us being a book community that continues to connect. It looks like it's going to be like, this is my pod, we read this book, ew, I don't like y'all. It feels a little book cliquish. Like, that's what it feels like to me.
You know, you mentioned clicks. And I don't know about you, but I feel like today's book got some clicks in it. You want to get into it?
Let's get into this.
You know, there was a good click and there was a bad click, and then there was just a really bad click. Yeah, today's book, guys, since, you know, we're trying to be nostalgic for the holiday season, was The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis.
Yes.
And for those who don't know, I secretly got Jay to read the second book of a series without reading the first book. So I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back before we get started today.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. So Chelsie, outside of the podcast, was doing this whole thing where she was like reading childhood books, and I was like, that is the cutest thing ever. And I was like, I want to get into it too. And then I realized I was never going to do it on my own. I was like, you know what? Let's do it for the podcast so that I'll for sure do it. And honestly, I love this. I think this is so cute. And then we were kind of talking about like what books we could do, like something that's nostalgia. And that's when we found out that we did not read the same books growing up at all.
Not even close.
At all. I also found out during this process that I don't think I read this book when I was younger. I for sure watched the movie. I thought I read the book, y'all. I really did. I thought I read it. But
you know what's crazy is you recommended it.
I really did. No, but here's the thing. Like, reading it for the podcast, I was like, I did not read this book. I watched the movie for sure, but I did not read this book. I don't remember reading it at all. But I remember everything visually, and I was like, that's because I saw the movie. But I was so convinced I read this book. So while we were doing it for the podcast, I didn't realize that the book wasn't called The Chronicles of Narnia.
The way she texted me, it was like, hey, did you know it's not actually just called Narnia? And I was like, Yeah, Jay.
I did not know.
I was like, that's the whole series. We're just
knew,
on the line.
I knew
the
they
witch,
had
the
different
wardrobe.
names because I remember like one of the movies was like Prince Caspian or something. Like I knew there were individual titles, but I thought this book's title was The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I didn't realize that like when you just say Narnia, it wasn't this book specifically. It was the whole series. So I was like, oh, and
that's how you know you didn't read the book.
Because I would have read them in order, and I would have known each individual time. Yeah, no, I just watched a movie. It was a good movie.
I'm curious now that you've read the book and you've watched the movie. Mm-hmm. As you were reading it, did you envision the scenes from the movie?
Yes and no. So, yes, for sure. There were some of them that I could so vividly see, like the actors and the things happening from what I remembered from the movie. I haven't seen this movie all in some time, all right? I vividly...
The way that silence put emphasis on how much time.
Okay, I don't know the exact time lapse from when I watched this, but Peter, who plays the oldest brother, the actor that plays that character, he was in a show that I loved called The Royals, where he played a prince, basically. Prince, king, a prince. When I saw him in that show, I was like, I know this kid from somewhere. And then, like, randomly I realized, I was like, oh, he's the kid from Chronicles of Narnia. Great.
Peter.
Yeah, so whenever I saw him young was when I saw the Chronicles of Narnia. Like, whenever that happened then is when I seen it. I have not seen it since. Like, it was a
even
while
know.
ago.
I don't even know what to say to that.
When it came, well, it had to be like when it came out or something like that. So, because me and him are like kind of the same age in real life. So, it has to be like when it came out. Either way, I vividly saw some scenes from what I remembered from the movie. And there were other things that I saw very vividly because it was explained and like it was described. I read this with my ears. I read it via audiobook. And I don't know, it was just so interesting. Like I really just like, so usually if I'm reading a book with audiobook, I'm probably also playing video games. I remember just sitting in the sun and just like staring because because I think it's so visually descriptive because there's like a fantasy element, there's like a new world element to it. That I kind of had to just, like, let my brain, like, process and fill in, like, all the trees and the snow and the beavers. Like, it was interesting because, like, I feel like when I read Legends and Lattes, I had that feeling, but I think the way Travis wrote that book and the audiobook, it was just a little bit different. Like, this go around, like I said, I really just found myself just, like, sitting in the sun and just being like imagining the world. Like I stepped into winter in my mind to go on this journey. It was really cool.
I, on the other hand, have watched the movie an absurd amount of times and had already read the book, and I just kept going, that's not how it is in the movie. That's actually not how it is in the movie. Where does this scene go? I think y'all forgot something because it happened in the movie, but it didn't happen here. I read it with my eyes, which is technically how I read it the first time.
Okay.
So I actually remember as a kid in elementary school going to our school library and having the librarian read us chapters of this book. And that was the first time I ever read this book. So I was a youngin'. So
you kind of had like an in-person audiobook.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know if that counts because Lord knows
it does
little
count.
Dyslexic me was not physically reading this with her eyes, but I did listen to it in the person audiobook. I will say there was definitely an element of nostalgia with this book, starting off at the beginning with little Lucy. And then there was a part of me that just kept remembering internet memes. And I was like, all right, Chelsie, you're going to have to lock in on this book if you're going to finish it for the podcast. But, starting this, thoughts on Lucy being the first one to find Narnia, meeting Mr. Tumnus. Did you understand what was happening, Jay? Because I know you're not a fantasy person. Were you enjoying it?
I literally, from like the first chapter, I was like, "Ooh, you just gotta suspend all disbelief immediately." And then I kind of to remind myself, I'm like, I'm reading a child book as an adult, and I was just like, can you just imagine the pure imagination and like the pure readiness to receive a new adventure that a child would read it as? And so that's basically how I kind of like put myself in that space. It's very interesting because you were kind of saying that like you were reading it, you're like, oh, that didn't happen in the movie, or this is missing that scene. There were some points where my brain just like blended the two, and I never really questioned it. I'm pretty sure, the production side of me. If I'd seen the movie recently, I probably would have been like fine tooth combing that thing. But no, it was really pleasant. Edmund, it's okay. So it's so funny. It starts with like Lucy going on the adventure, right?
Yes.
And when she gets back, that's when we really get to interact with her other siblings. So you have Peter, Susan, Edmund, and then Lucy's the baby. As soon as they introduced Edmund in the story, I was just like, man, I just remember him being like an idiot. And I was like, well, I don't really remember much about like the siblings. But I was like, I just remember him being an idiot. And then like immediately he showed that I remembered that correctly.
Idiot is not the term that I would use.
Ooh, what term would you use?
Mean, a jerk.
Okay. Yes.
Evil.
Evil. For me, this is one of those times I was just like, he's giving super middle child energy, and I know I don't always have the most like sibling nuance, but I hear that a lot, and I was like, he's probably the definition of middle child because that's what he was given.
But he's technically not a middle child because there's 4 of them.
He's in the middle.
That's not. We're not gonna have this conversation on this podcast, but that's not how that works. That's not how that works. There's physically no middle.
Susan is also a middle, but she's also an eldest daughter, so she takes over more eldest daughter vibes than middle child vibes. He's a middle.
We're not having this conversation right now, Jay. We will discuss this later. But moving on with the story, because originally no one believes Lucy, right? When she's like, yo, I just had tea with a fawn and no one came to find me. And they're like, yo,
but all
you've
this
been gone.
Time passed, and this is something that I thought was such a great character nod. And I really noticed it after reading it and thinking back to the beginning of the story to this time when Lucy comes back and they don't believe her. Peter is the oldest brother. Mm-hmm. When he's in Narnia later on, he has great leadership qualities. Something I thought was really great, like foreshadowing to that, was this moment. When Lucy comes back, no one really believes her. He doesn't try to dismiss Lucy, but he's kind of looking like, hey, this isn't possible. You were gone like 2 seconds, you know? And he goes, you know what? She's young. Let her have her adventures in her mind. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But when she kind of stays on that, he goes, she's not one to lie. She's not one to make up stories. And she's very adamant about this. And he goes, if she continues like this, we probably need to go send the professor to tell our parents, because this is beyond something that we can handle. And I thought that was such a responsible older brother, like protective, response. Because he's looking at it like, hey, my little sister, who is not a liar, is proclaiming this to be true, which, like, I can't see how this has happened. Maybe there might be something wrong with her, and we need to get her help. Like, I love that his thought was like, oh, you're dumb, whatever. No, his thing was like, maybe she, like, just needs a little bit of help, and it's more than I can give. And I love that.
Let's talk about the baby siblings who both managed to end up in Narnia on the next visit. Mm-hmm. Now, Lucy returns to see Mr. Tumnus, who in the movie I will love forever because it's James McAvoy. Yes. And I don't need to divulge all my secrets on this podcast, but I did, in fact, fall in love with James McAvoy at one point in time.
He's a staple. We respect it.
You know? Mm-hmm. While she's just trying to have tea with her favorite person, Edmund meets our villain of the story, the White Witch. Mm-hmm. And decides he's gonna sell his siblings out for
Turkish delight
and a throne.
Mm-hmm.
when they returned from Narnia and Lucy was like, all right, Edmund's been there. And Edmund was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Edmund, look me in my eyes. You look me in my eyes. You a sucker. All right? I can't say more on this episode, but no, you a sucker.
Right? I like so have the temptation to just pull a Woody from Toy Story. There's a snake in my boot because this bro was slithering.
No comment to that. I don't even know how to respond to that, Jay. I don't. Sidestepping that comment. As a younger sibling, the way I was ready to brawl on behalf of Lucy, I was like, Lucy might not hit you, but I'm willing to if you want. Like, it really took me back to when I was a kid, and I was like, how dare you? Because he hyped her up, and she was like, yeah, I'll tell. And then they get back, and he's like, she's just playing. And I was like, now, I know you did not grow up with your siblings in the same household as you. Mm-hmm. But could you understand why I wanted to step on Edmund's big toe with a high heel?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Even being raised as an only, absolutely. It was, like I said, how Peter was, like, protective of Lucy and was looking out for her, even though he didn't believe her. Edmund literally had the thing to clear, low stakes, but clear her name, and was like, no, I'm going to choose to weaponize this information.
They were ready to commit her to a hospital.
They were just going to send her home for the summer. She would have died.
It's a world war. There was no going home. They were like, yo, she's mentally unstable. We need her to go see a doctor.
Can you imagine her in, like, the psych ward? And she'd be like, I had tea with a fawn.
His name is Mr.
Not
Toughness.
funny, though, because that was her. But even she was questioning herself the way Edmund was like, yeah, no. She was like, wait, did I, even she was starting to question herself.
You know, in the rules of Narnia, she would have been there and somehow she would have ended up back in Narnia. We already know how this rolls.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know about you, but as someone who is a big Narnia fan, I could remember the steps of all of this. Did you see what was coming next about them? I mean, obviously, we know the whole story ends with them going through the wardrobe together. But, like, were you kind of, like, pacing it in your head? Like, all right, I know it's coming.
I knew that there was, like, a big adventure and kind of fight that was going to happen in Narnia, just, like, from vague memory. And so when they were all back in the real world on the clothes side of the wardrobe, I was just like, how do they all get over there? And then especially, like, knowing that, like, Edmund had, like, the task to get them all back like, so he can become king. And I was just like, I don't even want them to go because I know that little snot squirt. I was like, I know he's gonna want, like, he wants to be king for the worst reasons, and that's why you shouldn't be.
Right.
That's all I'm gonna say about that. That's not even a blanket statement. Just. So for me, it was just like, I didn't want them to go back, even though I did want Lucy to kind of, get the connection, whatever. And then when they do get into Narnia, they go into it in a space that wasn't how they left it. In the sense of, like, this beautiful space with a friendly, creature. That's not what they walk into. When they go in with the siblings, his place that she had like a friendly tea with multiple times is ransacked. What? Even the sister's like, we should go back home. Also,
I really wish I could have been there when you got to that point, because I know you didn't have full memory of what was about to happen, and I wish I could have just watched you been like, what you mean he's not there? Who ransacked it? What happened?
Word! I completely forgot about that. And then so I don't remember, or like I'm saying, obviously with the movie adaptation, it's not exact, but there were a couple of times where I was just like, okay, why is food such a constant, like, theme in here? And I was like, bro, I get it. I'd be hungry too, but can we focus? It was like, oh, I'm so hungry. oh, I want to betray my family for a snack. And I was like, bro, it is not that serious.
They're in the middle of a world war. There are rations. Things are not available to them. Time and place.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but shout out to the trees and the animals that even though they knew if they were caught, they would be in trouble, to still like guide the kids. Like it was one of those things where it was a couple times when I kind of realized in the reading, like, man, you can tell how aged this book is. And it was like, and how some of the verbiage was, right? And so I always loved how they consistently referred to them as son of Adam and daughter of Eve. And
well, that's not because of the time. You know that, right?
No, I know. I'm saying that they have other verbiage in the book that does kind of speak to it being passed. But I'm just saying, I loved how they always referred to them as like daughters of Eve and sons of Adam, and how they knew, like, in their instinctual minds that, like, we need to help these kids versus obey the law of the land. So yeah, the beavers, oh man, the beavers were so cool. I love them. They were so cute.
Mrs. Beaver gives me Mrs. Weasley from Harry Potter vibes.
Oh, you know what she gave me? Mrs. Potts vibes from Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
Yeah.
A little bit of that, but definitely more on the Weasley side of things for me. Mm-hmm. Especially when they decide to pack up because Edmund has gone off to betray them. And she starts packing things, and she's trying to take a sewing machine with them. She's packing loaves of bread, and everybody else is like, yo, could you put your coat on? We don't have time. And she's like,
I love it. She's like, we got food, we got snacks, we got drinks, we got pillows, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for being prepared, but also, if your husband has to help you put your shoes on, could we have done that first? Could we have?
I also thought they were just like a cute little beaver couple too. Again, it's one of those things where I just like how the animals were ready and willing to sacrifice to, you know, go with the journey with the kids.
Yeah.
Knowing that, like, what it meant and what the ultimate, like, need was to take over the witch. Is this in the movie? I don't really remember it because the whole Father Christmas moment, I did not remember that at all. And so that felt very book exclusive to me. I'm not sure. But it was really interesting because I know they mentioned it when Lucy first got to Narnia. And it really dawned on me when the Father Christmas moment happened. Because Aslan is now coming to Narnia. And when they are walking, they hear the jingle bells. And for me, I remember distinctively when the witch left to go after them with the sled, she said no bells. Mm-hmm. So I was like, they shouldn't be hearing bells. It's not the witch. And I couldn't realize what it was. And then we discover it's like, oh, it's Father Christmas. Because they specifically say it's always winter, but never Christmas. That's like a part of the curse that the witch has over the land. And so with Father Christmas coming, it's like, oh, the magic is finally weakened enough that I was able to break through because Santa's a little bit more the magical side of existence. I don't know. And so I thought it was really cute how they kind of like incorporated, you know, kind of like a universal childhood kind of staple in a book about another fictional land and thing. I just thought it was like a cute little combination.
When I was reading it this time, I didn't question it, to be honest, but I did just Google it to confirm, and he is in fact in the movie.
Oh, okay.
When I Googled it, I saw a little screen grab, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. So I think my brain remembered it. It just wasn't in the front of my consciousness.
Didn't click. Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah. Nah, but 100%, I will say there is a scene in the movie that did not happen in the book, and I spent a good 2 chapters waiting for it to happen, and it did not.
Did it ruin it for you, or?
No, it was more of a confusion thing. So, if my brain is remembering this correctly, there is a moment when they're trying to run from the beaver's house before Edmund tells on all of them. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure they end up in the water and they're trying to survive and they're like being washed down the river. I remember it pretty good.
This. Yes.
I just have a memory of the fur coats being wet and someone nearly drowning and the beavers even being out of breath. And that didn't happen in the book. And like the whole time they were getting away, I just went, where is it? Because you know me, I like some suspense. I like some drama. And I was sitting here like, all right. And then it didn't happen.
Funny enough, the kids wearing the fur coat was like an image that I remembered from the movie, and I like saw it while I was reading it. So it's really cute the way that it like intersected, like some of the imagery from the movie would pop in when they were describing it in the book, and it would help me visualize what was happening. So, yeah. So, Aslan,
yeah.
I rock with him. My friend has a cat that she named Aslan, and I refer to him as my nephew. And so I texted her while I was reading this, and she was like, that's why we named him that. And I was like, oh my God!
Look at you, connecting dots over there, Jay.
Like, my nephew comes from royalty.
I mean, I do have a friend whose dog is named Prince, after Prince Hakeem of Coming to America. So,
hilarious.
You know, I'm right there with you.
I go ahead.
Remember liking Aslan better.
In the movie?
I think I like him better in the movie.
Okay.
In the book, also, I read the book with my eyes, and they have illustrations, and they draw him walking on his hind legs. But in the movie, he does not do such things. And when I tell you, I was confused.
He never even says it in the book. Like, why would they do that in the illustration?
No, I think they
like walks and runs and moves like a cat.
Well, yes and no, because there are times where like he puts his paw on Peter's shoulder and stuff, and I think there are times in the book where they describe him more as walking on his hind legs. But he does both, maybe? I don't know. But there's literally a picture in the book of him walking with his front paws, like, behind his back. Like, he's thinking. And I just remember going, what? This, though, I think my problem with Aslan in the book is when they're discussing the war and the battle. And he tells the girls they can't fight. And I said, no. We're not doing this.
I did not love that. And I was like, oof, the sex is
do not give Susan a bow and arrow set and then say like, you're not going to use it, though.
Yeah. I mean, Lucy was young, so her not being in the battle, I didn't
that
really
made
question.
Sense.
But when then it was Susan as well, I was like, hold up, you gonna give her fight attire and be like, sit on the side? I was like, I don't like this.
But Edmund and Lucy are not that far apart in age.
Nope.
So for Edmund to be out there, that's why he almost passed away in battle.
Because he had no reason being out there. Yeah.
None of them did. All right? They're children.
They're all children, yeah.
I digress. Aslan decides that he's going to sacrifice himself for the deep betrayal that Edmund did.
Not decides. It was like negotiated because of what Edmund did. His life was owed to the queen, and so when they discuss if you keep Edmund and I don't take him like the queen, like what is going to be the exchange? And they quietly go off. We don't know about it until later on, and then Aslan goes, "I will take his place." The queen, not knowing the old school magical rules, was like, oh, amazing. But Aslan, knowing what was up, was like, yeah, you're silly and I will take advantage of you not knowing your history.
There are two moments that happened in my brain while reading these scenes, though. Number one. There has been a clip going around on the internet where it's Aslan going, "Do not cite the deep magic to me. I was there when it was written." And when I tell you, I quoted that so many times while reading this book. It's unhealthy. All right. So unhealthy.
You know what's funny? I definitely have heard that quote. I don't know why. I just assumed it was from Harry Potter. That's hilarious.
We are going to discuss the magical worlds later. I don't know why I nerd out so hard on these things. But then the second thing from the movie that really came to mind during this section is I remember the walk for Aslan up to the stone tablet and everything in the movie. And when I tell you it was 10 times creepier in the movie than what was written,
it was way more intense for sure, yeah.
I, like, reading the book, I said, how did we get a kids movie out of this? Like, what?
Yeah, I definitely remembered it being way more intense, like, in the visual representation. So intense,
yes.
And so, like, I feel like while I was reading it, I felt like I wanted to freak out about it because I knew what it could be. But it wasn't like that in the book, so I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then even all of the whole what happened, and then the mice coming out and breaking like the little like the ropes and stuff. I was just like, okay, I kind of remember that vision. I couldn't super remember it visually, so my mind kind of like spliced 2 and 2 together. It was like kind of what I vaguely broad stroke remember visually, and what was being described in the book, and I kind of put the 2 together to kind of get the like, okay, this is what's happening. First of all, kudos to the kids. Well, I think it was just Lucy and Susan, I believe.
Susan, yeah, it's just the girls.
To watch from the shadows and not do or say anything because Aslan told them not to. Because had they done that, it really would have actually messed up, all the things. So, definitely kudos to them for actually like listening and just letting the process play out. Like, whew, that's the definition of trust the process.
I'm going to be very honest with you here. So, for the audience, I was debating between reading it with my eyes and reading it with my ears. And so I had started off reading it with my eyes. Jay and I had a conversation, and then she texted me and she was like, oh, I just finished the audiobook if you want it. And I was like, nah, I'm finishing it with my eyes right now, actually. I may or may not have taken a break after this. I took a pre-K pause because this is where things started to get a little boring for me. Why are you looking at me like this?
Because I'm confused. Keep going.
So, I read up to when the mice came to free him. Mm-hmm. But I think because I knew what was gonna happen every step of the way, it just got boring for me.
Okay.
Because there was no surprises in this entire reading process. When I tell you I know the story of Narnia in terms of Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, I mean, none of it was forgotten.
That's so interesting, because so for me, by the time we got to the table, and then when the mice came up and broke the tablet, and then, like, he came back to life, I could not remember anything that happened after that, like, from the movie. I just knew that at some point Peter would be king. I remembered that. But, like, I had no wherewithal of what happened afterwards. So once that happened, I was actually locked in to be like, I can't do anything else because I have to figure out what happens next in the book. So, wow, but yeah, we had such a very different experience in that regard because I was just like, okay, so obviously the queen doesn't know that Aslan is still alive, and so they still have his magic and his support. I knew that, like, the queen had been turning people to stone. I did forget that was, like, a part of it. Like, gotta go, like, release them. But, yeah, like, I could not remember what happened from, like, memory. So I was fully locked in to figure out what happened once that. Because I knew, like, Aslan, like, I was like, I kind of remember something happened to him, but I couldn't really remember. So once that happened, that was, like, one of the gray areas in my mind. But once that happened, I was like, okay, cool. I don't remember what happens next, but I knew it was only good things. So I was, like, locked in.
There is a difference between everything that happens from this moment onward in the book and the movie, which I did find interesting. Because I'm pretty sure in the movie, it's only Lucy who ends up going and seeing everything. Because I have a strong memory of Susan busting out of the tent when she hears Aslan's roar when he returns to the battlefield after coming back. Now, I want to remind everyone, I haven't watched this movie in a couple years, so my memory's slightly off. But as someone who goes hard for Narnia, Yeah. So Aslan comes back and they rush to the battlefield. And now they're saving everyone. They go to the Queen's castle. They bring everybody back. Mr. Tumnus is okay. For everyone who was concerned about his ransacked apartment, he is okay. Mm-hmm. And then we take down the evil witch. And I just kept going. Do we really have to save Edmund? You know, I just want to remind y'all that he betrayed y'all for some Turkish delight in a throne when he already had a throne. He just had to get to it.
First of all, it was magical Turkish delight, so let's not completely blame the child.
He ate food from a stranger in the woods of a strange land. And then said, all right, bet. My siblings are down the hill. All right. I did what you asked of me.
Let's go get them.
Like, he was like, okay. I did the dollar store version of what you asked me, not the Target version, but, like, can I still have some Turkish delight? And then was confused when the evil lady was like, no.
No. Okay. For me, not that he redeemed himself or anything of that sort, but I thought, again, this speaks to Peter being a good leader in the book. I loved that when they were talking about everything that happened, they said, man, the witch was turning everyone into stone, and Edmund went after her wand, not her, and that stopped her ability to continue to do that, and that's when they really started to have, like, a little bit of headway in the fight. So, like, he contributed.
He cleaned up the mess he created.
He's a child!
He spilled milk and then mopped it up.
He's a child.
Then stay out of grown folks' business, okay?
Stay out of magical.
Mind your business. As my mom used to tell me all this time, stop ear hustling then, all right?
Yeah, so, I thought it was, the wrap-up I thought was really cute. I think that it was beautiful that we got to see a really clear vision of them as leaders in Narnia in terms of, like, the laws they implemented, the peace that they had throughout the land, all the things, how much they were loved, like, how well that they led and governed the land of Narnia. And then you kind of get to see them have, like, their childhood curiosity again, which leads them literally back to their childhood.
It was very interesting. It was interesting that they somehow forgot their childhood, though. Like, it was like they forgot who they were.
A long time passes. Like, they were adults in Narnia, but then in real life, it was like 2 seconds.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, and I'm not trash talking the book right now. I'm just saying it's very odd to me that, like, you and I are adults, Jay, right? Mm-hmm. But we still remember our childhoods.
Yes.
How long you gonna be in Narnia to the point that you forget the light post in the trees?
Well, you have to remember, it also looked very different. When they came, it was still under the witches. Like, when they came, it was very much...
They forgot what a lamppost was.
Yeah,
they couldn't remember the name.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. All right. I was trying to defend, but yeah, you're right. That was weird.
What is this magical thing, sir?
My favorite is that they're going through the woods and it goes from, it feels like a tree to it feels like a coat. I was like, y'all didn't see this coming?
Nothing. I said there were no memories sparked.
Yeah. Maybe it's like a magical, like...
That makes me nervous. That makes me nervous, especially with all that I know about Narnia and in the future books, which I will not say on this podcast right now, but it foreshadows some questionable things that happen later.
Okay. All right.
I'll tell you afterwards.
I might read them because I was kind of like in love with the world again. I was like, oh.
Then I will not tell you later.
Why are you yelling?
I don't know. I've gone too long without saying bad words.
All right, let's relieve you then.
return through the wardrobe, and they realize that no time has passed at all.
Mm-hmm.
They've hidden from the house's caretaker. The tour is continued on. And sadly, there is a scene in the movie that does not happen in this book that I thought would have been a cute little button on the end of this story. In the movie, the professor actually says something to them when they've come back from Narnia.
Mm-hmm.
He's, like, actually in the room waiting for them or something like that. Like, he pops up right after they come tumbling out. And he says a cute line. I don't remember the full line. And then he, like, winks at them and then, like, walks off. Like, he fully knows about Narnia. But I think because in the book, he's more prevalent at the beginning. He didn't show up at the end. Whereas I remember in the movie, he doesn't really exist until that final scene.
Because I love the little, like, speech that the professor gave them. Basically confirming that he had a similar experience in Narnia.
Right.
It does exist. And that, like, when Narnia needs you, you'll be able to get back to it. But never, like, look to get to it. I thought that was really cool.
Yes. Well, I would ask you what you rated it. But since you're already thinking about reading the next book, I feel like I already know.
I don't know. I think maybe a 3.5. Yeah, I think a 3.5. Huh?
Said you okay over there? You look real pained trying to figure out this rating.
Because I enjoyed it, but I'm not the audience for it anymore. You know, like I did it because I really loved seeing and hearing you talk about, like, reading childhood books as an adult, and so I wanted to go along with that journey, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I spent like a Saturday or like a day I didn't have anything to do, and I just, like, dove in, and it was short because it's a child's book, and it was such a little adventure. But, like, if I would rather read child books, like childhood books, YA books versus just, like, fiction, no, I'd rather read, like, a fiction book from a series that I'm, like, into now. But it just speaks to me as an adult more, you know what I mean? So, I thought it was good. Me not being like, I'm not who they wrote it for. I think I have to say, like, a 3.5. I think, maybe if I was more of a magical person, it could probably get a 4.
Well, I mean, like, I read Holes, and, like, even knowing everything that was coming next, I had a smile on my face the entire time. Mm-hmm. And it was still very much enjoyable to read, whereas I feel like with Narnia, I didn't get that same experience.
Okay. Yeah, I think a 3.5. Like, it was a good book. Obviously, it's a classic that has held up. It's lasted the span of time. But I don't think I'll reread it, even if I do end up reading the rest of the series. And me rereading a book is a large part of my reading experience, and I don't think I'll revisit. It was a fun little nostalgic throwback. But I think, this is such a cheat, but I feel like if I really wanted to do a deep dive in Narnia, I would just watch the movie again.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch the movie tomorrow, because I got some free time on my hand, and it, at least at the time of filming, is on Disney Plus for anyone who wants to go watch the movie for some nostalgia feels.
Good to know.
And as far as Goodreads is concerned, I gave it a 3.
Okay. And is it because you can't give half stars?
I was actually really torn when I went to go rate this. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm still getting over being sick. So I definitely was in a mood when I read it. But I felt like nostalgia pressured me into giving it a 3, but I don't know if it was a 2, 2.5, or a 3.
Gotcha.
Like, it was one of those things where it was like, when I read Holes, loved it, knowing everything. When I read A Series of Unfortunate Events, loved it, knowing every step of the way what was going to happen, because when I tell you I was a fan of Series of Unfortunate Events, I mean, I had the video game, I watched the movie way too many times, watched the series, all of it. So it was a fun experience even knowing what was going to happen. And this one, I don't know if it was the writing of it, but even knowing everything that was about to happen, I was like, okay, next page.
Got you. Yeah, I initially wanted to rate it a 3, but I thought that might have been a little bit too harsh. And I was like, I think I'm just judging it as an adult, even though it's written for a child. So that's why I said 3.5. Okay, so yeah, we're not that far off. I will say this. I want to give a quick shout out to C.S. Lewis, even though I know, like, technically he's not going to hear it. But I thought it was so sweet. So when I started the audiobook, it actually, like, read through, like, the acknowledgments and stuff first.
Yeah.
I thought it was so sweet that he's an uncle to a Lucy, and Lucy being, like, the main character was just so sweet to me. It touched my heart.
My favorite part of that dedication is when he goes, I started this when you were a kid, but by the time I finish this book, you're going to be an adult with your own kids. But you could just read it to them. It's fine.
Yeah, I thought that was cute too. Yeah, I was like, oh, like, yeah, I thought that was adorable.
I think I'm just going to enjoy the movie for what it was. Who knows? I might go watch the movie later and be like, I liked this.
I mean, I do like to dabble into the YA and child space every now and again because, like, I'm of the age where my friends have kids, and so I like to. They gonna read. They don't have a choice. If they hanging around with me, Auntie J, you gonna be reading a book some way. And so I like to be, always have like a book that's age appropriate for certain kids, and specifically for like things that they're into. So I definitely like that I can add one that I've recently experienced and be like, okay, cool. Like, if you're into magic in any kind of way, you might like this, or fantasy, you know what I mean? So I like to dabble into the YA childhood book space every now and again, just so I can, keep the fun aunt vibes going, and like also the thing that we do share books, because I don't feel like books is ever considered like fun for kids. It's a lot of like homework-ish, so I'm like, nah, we can make books fun, we can have a whole experience. So I kind of like to dabble every now and again.
I'm the auntie who's just gonna let your toddler watch Black Panther at 3 a.m. when he wakes up from a sleep. So just be prepared. With that being said, since this is our last November episode, Jay, I want to wish everyone a happy holiday season, no matter what holidays you celebrate. We are almost at the end of our season, Jay.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Since Thanksgiving is next week, I do want to say, Jay, I am thankful for all the shenanigans that you put up with, because there's a lot of things that y'all don't see, all right, that we leave on the editing room floor. There's a lot of absurd things I say in our production meetings that y'all don't get to see. So I'm very grateful for you, Jay. And yeah, we've got a couple episodes left. We got some special stuff coming. I'ma just say that, hint, hint.
Yeah,
so
we'll keep it like mysterious and stuff. Okay, my cheeks, I'm like blushing. Yes, no, I am so very grateful for you in my life. We talked about it on the podcast. We met years ago in college. Well, not that many years, but like in college. And I love that, like, life has bringing us to like reconnect and enjoy like a new wave and a deeper level of friendship now. So yes, I'm glad that life did this to bring us back here.
Oh, Jay, I mean, I'm loving also that the world has brought us back together and even tighter than we were in college. Yeah, I mean, we have done a lot of projects together over our friendship. So it kind of feels right that we're doing a podcast together. So
thank you for swindling me into it.
I did not swindle anything. If anything,
okay,
you are the swindler in all of this.
No. Okay, before we get ungrateful and start fighting for real,
I'm gonna just wrap this up for us, okay? Because you've lost it over there. All right, guys, have a good holiday season, and just remember, all right, this holiday season, don't be an Acacia. Don't be a white witch. And don't be a Charles. Okay? If you fall into any of those 3 categories, maybe just order Chinese food and stay home. All right?
Oh my God. Stay hydrated, y'all.
What does that even mean? All right.
Charles is ashy.
Hydration ain't gonna save him. We will catch y'all in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss another episode. All right? Bye.